down in like the same seat every day, and they all like they raise their hand before they speak. They know they can't be like called on if they're not raising their hand or if they can't talk. And it's so incredibly structured, and it's incredible. And I need to figure out how they got that set up because that's such a cool thing.
Yeah, so my school has been on Zoom over the past like year or two, and so the teachers have really been focusing on teaching communication skills because a lot of the students have limited mobility or multiple disabilities, so they haven't had that chance to have that like one-on-one connection with the teacher. So they've put a lot of emphasis on teaching this communication skills and building that with them. What's really cool is Miss Stacy, the teacher I'm with, who's a music teacher. She has a large board with a lot of sayings on it, like I like, I don't like, we're going somewhere, yes, no, I want. And it's such a cool high leverage practice that I wanted to highlight. She also uses a lot of behavioral supports by explaining to students what's considered appropriate behavior. And she'd actually model that for them. And then she also lets students play the instruments to a song, and she gives them plenty of time for opportunities to respond, which is really cool.
That's great. For me, I've been teaching these students for about 2 years. So I feel like the structure, right, is like already there. Like our routines are already there. So it's like, how can I change these lessons, add in what we're learning in class? And Dr. B was a little bit nervous. She was like, I don't know if this is going to work, Devin. I was like, I need it to work because I can't go to anything else. But it actually has been really great. For high-level practices, I use a lot of the instructional practices. Big thing is short and long-term goal setting, especially the long-term is something I think I forget about because I'm not with a school. I can teach whatever I want and call it a day. As long as they're having a fun time is like our big thing. And you hear that all the time, right? But I think having those long-term goals and still having due dates, deadlines for those long-term goals. So in a month, you'll be able to sing this song from beginning to end has been really helpful. And I've seen my students, I think as they're getting older too, cling on to any sort of due date, knowing what to expect, what they can practice so they can continue to improve on their own too. Yay. Yes. Next question is, what knowledge and concepts from this course have become more understandable during your classroom-based experiences? I said UDL's exclamation point.
Yeah, that's actually what I said too. I feel like I see a lot of visual support, especially because at Glencliff, I think it's like 65% of the students are EL students. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of visual supports. I also feel like they do a really good job at incorporating technology in their learning. Like the other day I saw them doing like, they're creating their own book and they had the option to do it either on pen and paper, or if they wanted to do it electronically, they could too. So I feel like UDL was definitely a big thing that I saw. I also saw an example of assistive technology when there was a little boy who was nonverbal, and he used like a tablet to communicate with him, which was really beneficial for him. The only thing was that I felt like at times the tablet was being used to like distract the boy and like have him do his own thing, so he wasn't really disrupting the class, instead of using it as a way to help integrate him into the class and like perform the same things that the students are doing. It might have been because the little boy has an aide that's usually with him, and so she wasn't there that day, so maybe the teacher was just feeling a little bit overwhelmed. But still, I felt like it was kind of hit or miss with the assistive technology. It was used in a good way, but then also it was kind of being used just to keep him entertained while the other students did stuff. So that was something.
Yeah, I also said UDL, but I'll go a little differently. I'll say assistive technology because we have 3 nonverbal friends at Friends Life, and I've never really like gotten to observe in person like the text-to-speech tablets. And I think it's so cool like how much they offer in terms of communication. It's not like, it's so much more complex than I ever would have imagined. And just like the amounts that they can do, and just like the depth that it lets them integrate with everyone else is so incredible, and I'm so glad they can like have access to that technology.
And since they're like pre-existing friends there, do you like if someone's nonverbal, do their verbal friends like come talk to them and wait for them to like finish typing?
Yeah, they do actually. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
It's so neat. Yeah, mine. I've seen so much assistive technology that I didn't know existed, and so it's so unique. The school is actually built for like special education and for the students, which I thought was really cool. Because I mean, the school I went to was a general education, and although we had special education, we were never really around them much. So actually getting to see, like a lot of the schools or a lot of the students rather have are in wheelchairs or in some kind of mobile device. What's really cool is that all of the wheelchairs are kind of catered to their needs. They have this like it's almost like a couch, I think of it, so they can lay on their side, and it's this massive like table that the kids can lay on. And then what's really neat is that the school is actually built in such a way that is more accessible for the students. So a lot of the classrooms don't have doors, and instead they have these really wide like corners that all connect to the different classrooms. So it's really neat. So that way, if a teacher needs to like go to another classroom to help another teacher out with the student, they can do that no problem. And it's a lot easier to get the kids in and out of the classrooms, which I thought was great. And then I also saw a lot of UDL by observing what Miss Stacy does. She teaches in such a way that everyone can understand. That way she's not just catering to like the student who's maybe a bit more able to communicate. She's really catering to everyone's ability, and so that way someone who may communicate a little better than another student can still follow along and is not bored either, which is great.
Sweet. Okay, so what section now? What questions are you asking in your practicum? How can you get these questions answered?
So I said one of my questions was how can we get teachers to use assistive technology more effectively in the classroom, rather like using it as a resource to help students and level the playing field with them, rather than just using it as a distraction to keep them entertained. And I said I can talk with the teachers who use AT to understand their thinking behind it and their strategy, as well as when I have my first teaching job, I can be more of an advocate for AT, because I feel like it's kind of a hard position like right now, because we're a guest in the school and we're just supposed to be observing. So we don't really have much voice when it comes to that, but in our own classrooms and when we have our own first job, I feel like we can be more vocal about it. And then another question I had was how can we give additional support and instruction to students who need it and keep pushing their progress forward without taking them out of the general classroom? Because one of the things I noticed, even when I was like looking at test scores with my EL teacher, was a lot of the teachers or a lot of the students were staying stagnant in their progress. They weren't really growing. So I was just thinking about how can we keep like pushing those students forward and still keep them in the general ed classroom? Because one of the things I noticed too was when students were taken out of the general ed classroom, like they would miss a lot, like even if it was just for 20 minutes. So how can we keep pushing those students forward within the classroom?
Yeah, my question's not nearly as profound as that, but my biggest question is why are there not more programs for adults with disabilities? Because my friend's life is only for adults. And like during my orientation, they told me like they're one of the only programs in Nashville that does like a day program for adults with disabilities. And we spend so much time focusing on like children and teaching in the classroom and being able to integrate them, but I feel like we don't focus like at all on what happens after they get out of school. And I mean, just being there, it's shown me how important it is and how incredible it is. And I don't know why there aren't more programs because they're so helpful.
Yeah, I'm from Maryland, and we have a close family friend with a brother who has very low functioning autism. And maybe he's like 40 in his 40s now. And the program he's at is in Texas. That's like 24 hours away from family. But it's like really cool. Like it's like a horse farm and he gets to ride horses every day. But like he can't live on his own, and they know that. And just schedule wise, once all the siblings started having kids, they weren't able to support him anymore. So it really makes me emotional. But seeing what Friends Life does, I hope one day we can get more adult programs, because I think they are really beneficial to just like societies and communities.
Is it my turn? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Mine's not even that profound. What I'm wondering is, especially for music classes, if there's any specific standards that the students have to meet, because the music class there is very unique, I will say. So there's a lesson, but mainly what we do is we just listen to popular artists. So she has kind of a structure thing where she'll find out the list of people's birthdays during like the month of February, and then we would just listen to their songs. So like Billie Joe Armstrong from Green Day was one of them, and so we listened to a Green Day song, and just seeing kind of how the students responded, which I thought was really beneficial. And her talking about how she implemented that really helped me see how she gets families involved. So if a student responds really well to a particular song, she'll actually get in contact with the parents and be just like, hey, just wanted to let you know, Joe really loves this song. And that way, they can play it at home. And that way he can, communicate and respond in that way. She does include like some cross-curricular historical stuff. So she talked about Nina Simone and during Black History Month, and talked about like how she was a civil rights leader and things like that. We watched the Super Bowl halftime show because that was nearby. But overall, I was just wondering if there was some kind of standards that the students meet, if there's anything like that. Because we've been talking about a lot of like ILBs and things like that, meeting standards for like general curriculum, but I just didn't know if there was anything for the students. And then I didn't know if the pieces of technology there, like the wheelchairs and the special tools, were provided for the families or like by the families, or if it's something the school provides for them long term. Because since they're using wheelchairs, I didn't know if it's like this is this child's wheelchair and they keep it with them, or if it's like this is owned by the school and we're letting them use it. But I just thought of that recently, so I can just talk to Miss Stacy the next time I observe.
Yay, that's great. Since I don't have a mentor, I haven't got to see routines and practices and things. That was my question. So you guys kind of answered my question about like what routines can be used in a classroom, especially in a music classroom, because I'm theater. Last question for this section. Let's talk about deficit and asset minded examples that you've seen in your placement.
So for me, I feel like I haven't really seen any like specific examples, but like you can tell if there's like a teacher, like just walking into your room, you can kind of tell if they prescribe to like the deficit or the asset mindset. And I feel like in the rooms that prescribe to the asset mindset, I feel like the students respect each other more. Like I remember one teacher, like whenever a student was talking and like another student, like other students would like start talking while that student's talking, she would always say like, whoa, 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 like safe, valued, loved. Like, are we making this student feel safe, valued, and loved? Which I thought was really cool. And so I just feel like with the asset mindset, students, it's just a more positive environment, and students feel encouraged to like keep progressing, and like if they make a mistake, like it's okay, like they can get back and like it'll all work out. And I feel like too, like I feel like the teachers are more positive with the students, and I feel like they kind of like see the students' potential rather than what the students is struggling. And students always pick up on that. Like they know if their teacher believes in them, and they know if their teacher doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Friends Life places a huge emphasis on just keeping the asset mindset like on a daily basis, because they're always like putting friends where they're going to succeed. So like every day they go out to like different places in the community, and so like some go to Edley's on 12 South to help set up, and like I'm not exactly sure what they do because I'm never there for that, but they go and help out at Edley's, or some people do Meals on Wheels where they go deliver meals to people that can't go get them. And I think it's just important to realize that the friends, like, they have the ability to do pretty much the same things we can, and sometimes, like, even better than we can. Like, there's so many of them that are way better artists than I could ever be. And there's even, like, a guy there who has his master's in music from Iowa State, which, Ben, I'm sure you realize, like, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just incredible. And I don't think deficit mindset has like a place in that building anyways in the first place. So it's just really cool getting to witness that.
Yeah, it's nice that they encourage them to volunteer, even though it's like it's an after, or not an after school, but it's like an extracurricular, I guess you could say, group. But then they're still like, hey, we're not just doing things for us, we're gonna do things for other organizations too. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, for sure. My classroom that I'm in is a very positive environment. And so anytime a student directly responds in any form, whether it be like movement, playing an instrument, just nodding yes, or even just making any kind of acknowledgement, all of the teachers and the aides just praise and worship that. They're like, yes, that's totally right. And we just have a fun time in the class, which is nice because it's kind of taking a break from a lot of the struggles of trying to just learn school. I mean, it can be a lot for anyone. So just getting to take a break and have some fun is is nice. They never really highlight deficits of a student, and even talking to me. When Miss Stacy will talk to me, besides maybe just telling me a fact that a student is blind or that a student has cerebral palsy, they don't really talk about it to anyone. They just kind of treat them like they're a normal student, or just that any student is able to learn and communicate and enjoy music in whichever way that they are able to or prefer to do, which is great.
That's great. For me, I feel like I grew up very integrated with all of our special education programs. I feel like I just, from experience, am really comfortable in that environment and have been taught to have that mindset for as long as I remember. So in my lessons, I feel like I think very actively just to keep things positive. The struggle is, no matter how hard I try, when I teach the 2-on-1 lessons, it's me, my student that is an ESL student, and then her friend. And her friend sometimes can poke fun at her. And of course, that's like a friend relationship rather than like a student-peer relationship. So sometimes I know she's joking, but it's like, sometimes we're over Zoom, and then when I'm at home in Maryland, we're in person. But especially over Zoom, it's challenging to facilitate that. We do a lot of recently we've been doing a lot of improv, and that's where sometimes it can go off the rails. So we're working on it, but I'm aware of it. I think it might need to be a one-on-one conversation with my non-ESL student, and I think she'll understand because this is her friend. But so real world based, it's hard to control other students. But I think it's all about me keeping or modeling that mindset so that others can practice and mirror it.
That's neat.
I think I'll end this with one last question. in the now what section, we can kind of just bunch them together. But now what? Like, from the future, what can you do to advocate? What do you want to continue to do in your placement? Any other last thoughts?
I think for me, overall, I just realized and like saw how much the teachers truly care for their students and how much they're willing to like fight and how much effort they're willing to put into like making sure their students succeed. And so I think that kind of just inspired me to be like one of those teachers who like you can tell cares for their students. Um, Also, I saw a really cool like kind of experience where a kindergartner walked into like the classroom and like the teacher like instantly knew something was off because she was a good teacher and she knew her students. And her hair was kind of a mess, so like the teacher was like, do you want me to brush it for you, like how can I help you? And the student wasn't really wanting to talk, so like discreetly, like the school has a lot of systems in place to help support the students. So this teacher contacted office staff, and one of the principals and one of the other administrators came in and like pulled the student out, and they had like a one-on-one conversation, and they kind of like got to the bottom of what was going on. And like by the end of the conversation, the student seemed like she was doing better. So I think just like working for a school that has those systems in place that like supports their students like that, I think that's something that like I saw from this practicum experience and kind of want to look for when I'm looking for my own jobs or looking for different things that I can implement into my own classrooms.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I think for me, it's going to be advocating for programs for adults. I have a family member with Down syndrome, so that's kind of special to me as well. And like she's younger than me, but I know eventually she'll also need the supports of these programs because she can't live on her own. So, and it's seeing how much it not only helps the friends, but it helps their community too. And like they get to like actually put their talents and abilities to use, to like actually get to share them with other people. And it's just, I think it's so important. And yeah, that's pretty much my main why I want to advocate for it.
Yeah, I've definitely learned how important it is to maybe think outside of the box as far as communication skills, and not necessarily being able to communicate like talking like we're doing, and having to think of different ways to respond to the students. But the neat thing is that they do respond, and they respond great. Um, and so it's definitely changed my perspective on me being a future teacher and being like, okay, how can I talk to students whether they have any disability or not, um, and just being sure that I'm being inclusive in my classroom, so that way I'm catering to everyone, instead of just focusing on, in this case, like the kids who have iPads because they're actually able to form words versus kids who don't, and things like that. But being able to just form my lessons um, around I just had a brain moment. I just lost all my words. Focusing my lessons around, people who necessarily need to. Sorry, I'm losing my place. I'm just gonna read off my notes.
We gotcha.
I took
We're
great
following.
notes. You know what I mean. Cater to all students who need them, and that way. And then kind of like what Garrett talked about being an advocate. I definitely want to be an advocate about kids getting the technology devices that they need, especially after seeing so many unique technology and stuff that I've never seen in a general education class or school. So I definitely feel much more passionate about being sure that they actually get those resources if a child needs it, because there's all kinds of stuff that I didn't know existed. And so just being able to be flexible as a teacher and doing our research and being sure that maybe something that we're like we didn't know existed, just doing a research and seeing if something might actually be a solution for a student, and then being an advocate towards the school to be like, hey, this student can really benefit from it. I've noticed that they're struggling with XYZ, and this would really help, and just kind of getting the ball rolling on that.
Yeah. My biggest thing, and I think I've talked about this in class, is language. I don't know. It's as simple as that. I think for me, it's understanding and knowing like, okay, the language I'm using is up to date and appropriate. And when it changes again, I'm ready to change again. And then being able to step up, which is like so hard, especially when it's peers, like college age peers. And I hear them say the R word. Like, I can step up. And I know it's going to be scary, but that could really make a difference. And you don't know who's standing by and like overhearing that conversation. And this is not just for disabilities. This is for all sorts of things. I think language is so powerful, and how we use our words is really important, especially in a classroom. And also for me, I think representation is big in a theater classroom. It's easy just to talk about Shakespeare all day, but like, who wants to be talking about white males all day long? Not me. But the theater industry is changing and shifting, and I think people with disabilities are starting to have more of a place. So I think bringing that into my classroom is definitely a must for me, and I feel more prepared to do that now, having gone through parts of this class, and especially like just talking about UDLs and high-level practices, and starting to practice and implicate those in my private coaching lessons. Yay!
Yeah.
Dr. B actually just sent an email to us.
Yeah, I saw where she sent it. She was like, so sorry. But we'll just let her know. I recorded it, if you can't tell. So, I recorded it, and Devin facilitated. So, hopefully we should be good to go so she can watch it over or something. Yeah, so sorry you couldn't make it, Dr. B, but...
Yeah, sorry, Dr. B.
Yeah.
I thought this was great.
Yeah,
great,
we did a good job. It's snagging the opportunity to do it, so... Cool. Does anyone have any final stuff they want to talk about, or no? We're good.
Okay. I love hearing about your guys' classroom placements. Like, you don't know what you don't know.
I like how everyone had kind of a unique, and it wasn't just like traditional classrooms too, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Alrighty. Well, let's all get some food because I'm hungry too. All right. Sounds good. Alrighty. I'll see y'all later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See y'all.